My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, and that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins, for the grace to make this time of prayer fruitful, my Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, and my guardian angel. Intercede for me. When Jesus saw the vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them, for they were like sheep without a shepherd, and he began to teach them many things. It's so good for us in our prayer to see Jesus in this way, to see Jesus responsive to the plight of this crowd. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, now, and forever. So Jesus, we have confidence that when you look on our world, you have the same reaction. You see our fears, our anxieties, you see our ignorance, you see our bad habits, you see the corruption that enters our human institutions. You hear the cry of the poor. You know and have compassion for the sick and all those who are suffering in any way. And so we ask you, Jesus, have mercy on us. Help us to bear up under the burden of this life. And help us to help each other through all sorts of difficulties so that we can be you for others. By now it was already late, the gospel goes on, and his disciples approached him and said, "This is a deserted place and it is already very late. Dismiss them so that they can go to the surrounding farms and villages and buy themselves something to eat." He said to them in reply, "You give them something to eat." But they said to him, "Are we to buy 200 days' wages worth of food and give it to them to eat?" What a great passage. What a great scene for us to contemplate in our prayer in the presence of Jesus. They come to him with a solution to a problem that seems reasonable. There's a lot of people there, and they're going to have to eat something. So let's tell them to leave and go find something to eat, each on his own, each little group on their own. And Jesus tells them to do something that doesn't seem to make much sense. You give them something to eat. Give them some food yourselves. And they don't have enough food. How are they supposed to feed that vast crowd with their meager resources? And this, in a way, is what Jesus is asking us to do in the face of the problems of the world, the problems we see out there. He tells us to do something about it, and we're like, we can't solve this problem. I can't solve the problem of the corruption I see in society, or the problem of poverty in the world, or the problem of violence, or ignorance, or a cultural breakdown, familial breakdown. And Jesus says, well, do what you can. This is basically what he's saying. You don't have to solve the whole problem. I want you to do what you can in the face of the problem. At times, we feel like that guy that I saw in a meme a couple times. There's a meme of a pickup truck stuck in mud, and they're trying to push the truck out of it. There's a couple guys at the back of the truck pushing, and there's one guy standing in the bed of the truck, pushing on the back of the truck's cab, at the front of the truck where the seats are and the driver is, pushing the cab while standing on the bed of the truck, as if that's going to help the other guys push the truck. Sometimes that's what we can feel like when we consider these big problems. This is what the apostles felt like when Jesus said to them, you feed this crowd. It seems futile. It doesn't seem like it's going to do much. And Jesus nevertheless says, do what you can. And then he takes care of the rest. And we give what we can, and God takes care of the rest. We put everything in God's hands. He asked them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." And when they had found out, they said, 5 loaves and 2 fish. So he gave them orders to have them sit down in groups on the green grass. The people took their places in rows by hundreds and by 50s. Then taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he said the blessing, broke the loaves, and gave them to his disciples to set before the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all. They all ate and were satisfied. And they picked up 12 wicker baskets full of fragments and what was left of the fish. Those who ate of the loaves were 5,000 men. Jesus feeds 5,000 men. Another passage says, not counting women and children. Jesus feeds over 5,000 people with 5 loaves and 2 fish. But he asks for that contribution. He asks for that starter kit, so to speak, before he does anything. You give them something to eat. Give it to me, what you can do. Give me what you can do, and I'll take care of the rest. It reminds me of what one holy priest likes to say. Let's do what we can. God does many things without us. Let's do what we can. God does many things without us. And Jesus, what do you want us to do? Well, the tradition of the church, from sacred scripture, by glossing different passages of sacred scripture, has come up with a list of the works of mercy. This is from the Catechism of the Catholic Church. The works of mercy are charitable actions by which we come to the aid of our neighbor in his spiritual and bodily necessities, instructing, advising, consoling, comforting, our spiritual works of mercy, as are forgiving and bearing wrongs patiently. The corporal works of mercy consist especially in feeding the hungry, sheltering the homeless, clothing the naked, visiting the sick and imprisoned, and burying the dead. Among all these, giving alms to the poor is one of the chief witnesses to fraternal charity. It is also a work of justice pleasing to God. You give them something to eat. I don't expect you on your own to cure the world of poverty or suffering or ignorance, but help someone. And maybe you can't cure world hunger, but you can go to a soup kitchen and feed someone. You can make a donation of food to the food pantry in your parish. Maybe we can't cure poverty, but we can give to some institution that helps the homeless or helps poor people. Maybe we can't cure or solve the problem of spiritual moral ignorance, but we can find someone to teach, instructing the ignorant, advising, consoling, comforting, our spiritual works of mercy. Maybe we can't solve the problem, the mental health crisis of our age, all the anxiety and depression and dysphoria and you name it that people are experiencing. But we can be a source of support for the people that we know who experience anxiety or depression or whatever. We can advise, we can console, we can comfort. And this is what Jesus wants us to do. Do what you can. You give them something to eat. And don't worry about the global nature of the problem. Yes, of course, some of us have to be involved in policy making and higher levels of education and organization and aid to the poor, etc. Of course, but all of us are called to give them something to eat, to do what we can. I thank you, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations which you have communicated to me in this meditation. I ask your help to put them into effect, my Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel. Intercede for me.